Princess Lyra stood by the large window of her royal room on the giant ship called Starfall. Her skin was silver and her eyes were purple. She watched a screen that showed one of her space bases being destroyed by human fighters. She felt sad and angry. The humans were getting braver. They were attacking more and more places that belonged to her people, the Celestials. Lyra was the last princess of the royal family. Her father, the Emperor, had died 2 years ago. Now she had to make all the hard choices about the war with humans. She had to be strong for her people. The door to her room opened with a soft sound. Commander Valerie Pierce walked in and bowed low to show respect. "Your Highness," Valerie said, "the Council is waiting for you to tell them what to do about the human attacks." Lyra turned away from the window. Her royal armor made soft clicking sounds as it adjusted to her movements. The armor was beautiful but also very strong. It could stop most weapons from hurting her. "Tell the Council I have decided," Lyra said, in her clear voice. "We will send the Phantom Division to the Arcturus sector to push back the humans." Valerie nodded but didn't leave right away. "What about the human we caught, Your Highness? The fighter who knows our language so well?" Lyra thought about the human man they had captured 3 months ago. He was different from other humans they had caught before. He could speak their language almost perfectly. He was also very good at fighting. Even her best guards said he fought like someone who had been trained by Celestials. There was something about him that made Lyra feel strange. When she looked at him, she felt like she should know him. But that was silly. She had never met a human before they caught him. "Bring him to me," Lyra ordered. "I want to ask him questions myself before we go to the battle." "Yes, Your Highness," Valerie said with another bow. She left the room quickly to follow the princess's order. Lyra walked to her desk and touched a small button. A new screen appeared in the air. It showed the human prisoner. He was tall with dark hair and strong features. He was sitting calmly in his cell, even though he was surrounded by enemies. "What secrets are you hiding?" Lyra whispered to herself as she looked at his face. She didn't know that the human, who called himself Jack Sullivan, was actually Jackson Caldwell. And she didn't know that 5 years ago, during a secret peace mission to Earth, she had married him. After that mission, Lyra's own government had used a special machine to erase parts of her memory. They took away all her memories of Earth and of Jack. They did this because some powerful people in the Celestial Empire didn't want peace with humans. These people made money from the war and had a lot of power because of it. Jack had spent the last 5 years trying to find Lyra. He had learned the Celestial language and fighting style. He had joined secret missions into celestial space. He had done all this just to find his wife who didn't remember him. Now they were both on the same ship, heading toward a battle that might change the war forever. An hour later, Lyra sat in her command chair on the bridge of the Starfall. Around her, celestial officers worked at their stations, preparing the ship for its jump to the battle area. "Your Highness," said Lieutenant Olivia Martinez, "all systems are ready. We can make the jump to light speed whenever you give the order." "Very good," Lyra said. "But first, I will talk to the human prisoner. Have him brought to the royal interrogation room." Olivia looked worried. "Are you sure that's wise, Your Highness? This human is very dangerous. He killed 3 guards during his capture." Lyra gave Olivia a cold look. "Are you suggesting I cannot handle one chained human?" "No, Your Highness, of course not," Olivia said quickly. "I'll have him brought there right away." While waiting for the prisoner, Lyra thought about the strange dreams she had been having lately. Dreams of a blue planet with large oceans. Dreams of walking among humans without fear. Dreams of a man whose face she could never quite see. The royal doctor said the dreams were just stress from the war, but Lyra wasn't so sure. The dreams felt like memories, not dreams. But that was impossible. She had never been to Earth. The door opened, and 2 large guards brought in the human prisoner. His hands were tied with energy chains that would shock him if he tried to escape. But he didn't look afraid. He looked at Lyra with a strange expression. Was it sadness? That didn't make sense. "Leave us," Lyra ordered the guards. "But Your Highness..." One guard started to protest. "I said leave us," Lyra repeated in a harder voice. "Wait outside the door." The guards bowed and left, though they clearly didn't like it. Now Lyra was alone with the human called Jack. She stood up and walked around him slowly, studying him. He was wearing simple prisoner clothes, but he stood straight and proud like a soldier. "Do you know who I am?" Lyra asked. Jack looked directly into her eyes. "You are Princess Lyra of the Celestial Empire, daughter of Emperor Zorn, commander of the Imperial Fleet." His accent was strange, but his words were clear. Lyra was impressed despite herself. "And you are Jack Sullivan, or so you claim," Lyra said, "a human fighter captured near the Orion border station." Something flashed in Jack's eyes when she said his name, but it was gone so quickly Lyra wasn't sure she had seen it. "Why were you there, human? Orion is far from Earth's territory." Jack was quiet for a moment, as if deciding what to say. "I was looking for something that was lost. A weapon? Secret information?" Lyra pressed. Jack shook his head. "Something more important than any weapon." Lyra felt a strange shiver go through her body. There was something in his voice that touched a part of her she didn't understand. "You will tell me everything you know about Earth's battle plans," Lyra said, trying to sound firm and royal again. Jack looked at her with such intensity that Lyra almost stepped back. "What if I told you that you've been to Earth, Lyra?" Jack asked softly. "What if I told you that your own people have stolen your memories?" Lyra's heart beat faster. How dare this human use her name without her title? And yet the words hit her like a physical blow. "You are lying," she said, but her voice didn't sound as strong as before. "Am I?" Jack asked. "Then why do you dream of Earth's oceans? Why do you sometimes wake up reaching for someone who isn't there?" Lyra gasped. How could he know about her? Dreams? Before she could respond, a huge explosion rocked the ship. Alarms began to sound throughout the starfall. The battle had begun sooner than expected, and nothing would ever be the same again. The ship shook again. Lyra stumbled and almost fell. Jack moved quickly despite his chains. He caught her arm to steady her. "Let go of me," Lyra said, pulling away from him. The door burst open. Commander Valerie rushed in. "Your Highness, we're under attack. Human stealth ships have found us." Lyra straightened her back. "How?" "Our position was secret." "We don't know," Valerie said. "But they hit our main engine. We can't jump to light speed." Another blast rocked the ship. The lights flickered. "Get to the bridge," Lyra ordered Valerie. "I'll be there soon." Valerie looked at Jack with suspicion. "And the prisoner?" "I'll deal with him," Lyra said. "Go now." After Valerie left, Lyra turned to Jack. "Did you know about this attack? Is that why you got caught? To lead them to us?" Jack shook his head. "No. This isn't part of any plan I know." He looked serious. "Lyra, you're in danger. Not just from the attack. There are people in your government who want you gone." "How dare you?" Lyra said. "My people are loyal to me." "Some are," Jack agreed, "but not all. The ones who took your memories." "Stop saying that," Lyra snapped. "You're lying." The ship shook again, harder this time. Part of the ceiling fell in. Jack pushed Lyra out of the way just in time. The metal piece crashed where she had been standing. Lyra looked at Jack in surprise. He had saved her. Why would an enemy do that? The ship's computer voice spoke. "Warning. Main power failing. Life support damaged. All crew to escape pods." "We need to go," Jack said. "This ship is going down." "I won't run," Lyra said. "I need to lead my crew." Jack looked at her with frustration. "If you die here, the truth dies with you. Your people need you alive, not dead in a heroic last stand." Before Lyra could answer, the door opened again. But it wasn't Valerie or any of Lyra's officers. It was a group of celestial soldiers she didn't recognize. Their uniforms had a strange symbol, a broken crown. "There she is," said the leader. "Take her. Kill the human." Lyra's eyes went wide. These were her people, but they were trying to capture her. Jack had been right. Someone in her government had sent them. Jack moved fast. Even with his hands chained, he kicked the leader in the chest. The man fell back into his soldiers. In the confusion, Jack managed to grab the leader's weapon. "Run!" Jack shouted to Lyra. For a second, she didn't move. Everything she believed about her government, her people, was falling apart. Then her survival instinct kicked in. She ran with Jack right behind her. They raced down the corridor. The ship was in chaos. Crew members were running to escape pods. Some areas were on fire. No one paid attention to Lyra and Jack in the panic. "This way," Lyra said, turning down a side passage. "There's a royal escape pod. Only I can access it." They reached a small door. Lyra placed her hand on a scanner. The door opened to reveal a pod much nicer than the regular escape pods. "Get in," she told Jack. Jack hesitated. "Take these chains off first." Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Could she trust this human? He had saved her life, and those soldiers, her own people, had tried to kill her. She made her decision. She touched the chains with a small device from her pocket. The chains fell away. "Thank you," Jack said, rubbing his wrists. They climbed into the pod. Lyra sat at the controls. With a few quick movements, she launched the pod away from the dying ship. Through the window, they could see the starfall. It was badly damaged. Parts of it were exploding. Around it, human and celestial ships were fighting. "I still don't understand," Lyra said quietly. "Why would my own people try to kill me?" Jack sat next to her. "Because you're the rightful ruler, and because 5 years ago you wanted peace with humans. That scared some powerful people in your government." Lyra frowned. 5 years ago, I was leading the first attacks against human outposts. I wasn't seeking peace." "That's what they made you believe," Jack said. "They changed your memories." Lyra shook her head. "That's impossible." "Is it?" Jack asked. "Your people have very advanced mind technology. You know that." It was true. Celestials did have ways to treat mental illness by adjusting memories, but to completely change someone's memories, to erase whole parts of their life, that seemed too extreme. "Even if that were possible," Lyra said, "why would they do it? Why not just kill me?" "Because you're the last of the royal line," Jack explained. "Your people are very traditional. They wouldn't accept anyone else as ruler. So instead of killing you, they turned you into what they wanted. A war leader who hates humans." Lyra didn't want to believe him. But those soldiers with the broken crown symbol, they had tried to kill her. Something was very wrong in her government. "Where are we going?" she asked, changing the subject. Jack looked at the pod's navigation system. "We're headed for the Cygnus Nebula. It's a good place to hide while we figure out our next move." "Our next move?" Lyra raised an eyebrow. "I haven't agreed to work with you, human." "True," Jack said with a small smile. "But right now we both want to stay alive. And I'm the only one who knows the truth about what happened to you." Lyra had to admit he was right about that. She needed answers. And with her ship destroyed and her own people trying to kill her, where else could she go? The pod's computer beeped. "Warning, 2 ships approaching. Identified as Celestial Hunter class." "They're following us," Lyra said, looking at the screen. "Those ships are fast. They'll catch us before we reach the nebula." Jack studied the controls. "This pod has weapons, right? It's a royal pod." Lyra nodded. "Small laser cannons. Not very powerful." "We don't need to destroy them," Jack said. "Just slow them down." He pointed to an area on the map. "Head for that asteroid field. We can use it for cover and maybe lose them." Lyra changed course. She was surprised by how calm Jack was. Most humans would be panicking in this situation. "You seem very comfortable with space battles," she said, as she steered toward the asteroids. "I've had practice," Jack replied, watching the pursuing ships. They reached the asteroid field. Lyra skillfully guided the pod between the floating rocks. The hunter ships followed, firing their lasers when they got a clear shot. "They're gaining on us," Lyra said, dodging another laser blast. Jack pointed to a very large asteroid ahead. "Get behind that one, then stop." Stop? Lyra looked at him like he was crazy. They'll catch us. Trust me, Jack said. Lyra didn't know why, but she did trust him. She flew behind the large asteroid and stopped the pod. Now what? She asked. Jack took control of the weapon system. Wait for it. The first hunter ship came around the asteroid. Jack fired the lasers not at the ship itself, but at a small asteroid near it. The asteroid exploded into pieces that hit the hunter ship. It spun out of control and crashed into another asteroid. One down, Jack said. The second hunter was more cautious. It stayed back, firing from a distance. We can't stay here, Lyra said. We're trapped. Jack thought for a moment. Does this pod have any kind of distress beacon? Something that would make a lot of noise on celestial frequencies? Lyra understood his plan immediately. Yes, the Royal Emergency Beacon. It would signal every celestial ship in the area. Perfect, Jack said. Turn it on, then fly straight, out of the asteroid field as fast as possible. Lyra activated the beacon. It sent out a powerful signal that would bring any loyal celestial ships rushing to help. Now go, Jack said. Lyra pushed the engines to maximum. They shot out of the asteroid field. The hunter ship followed, still firing at them. Then, just as Jack had predicted, 2 celestial patrol ships appeared, responding to the royal beacon. They saw the hunter firing at a pod with the royal signature. Look, Lyra said, pointing at the screen. The patrol ships were attacking the hunter, thinking it was threatening their princess. That should keep them busy, Jack said with satisfaction. Lyra turned off the beacon and changed course toward the nebula again. She looked at Jack with new respect. That was clever. Thanks, Jack said. I had a good teacher once. Who? Jack hesitated, then said softly, You. Lyra stared at him. That's not possible. It is, Jack insisted. 5 years ago, you spent a year on Earth as a secret diplomat. You taught me about celestial ships, weapons, tactics. We worked together. Lyra shook her head. I would remember that. Not if your memories were taken, Jack said. He reached into a hidden pocket in his boot. I've been waiting for the right time to show you this. He handed her a small device. It was celestial technology, but older, not used anymore. Lyra recognized it as a memory crystal. These were used to store personal memories for important occasions. What is this? She asked. Play it, Jack urged. It's yours. With trembling fingers, Lyra activated the crystal. A hologram appeared between them. Lyra gasped. The hologram showed Lyra herself, but she looked different. Her hair was styled in a human way. She was wearing human clothes, simple pants and a top instead of her royal armor. She was smiling in a way Lyra couldn't remember ever smiling. Log, date 2347, Earth calendar July 15th, the hologram Lyra said. My time on Earth has been the most eye-opening experience of my life. These humans aren't the monsters our government describes. They're creative, passionate, and surprisingly similar to us in the ways that matter. Hologram Lyra looked to the side, smiling at someone off-screen. Jack has been showing me the natural wonders of Earth. Yesterday we saw the ocean for the first time. It's more beautiful than I imagined. The way the light dances on the water reminds me of the crystal fields on our home world. The real Lyra watched with her mouth open. She had never recorded this message. She had never been to Earth, and yet, the person in the hologram was definitely her. No one else could fake a royal memory crystal. They were coded to the user's DNA. The hologram continued. I've decided to change my report to the Council. I'm going to recommend a full peace treaty with Earth. Not just a ceasefire. We have so much to learn from each other. So much to gain from cooperation instead of war. The hologram Lyra glanced off screen again. And on a personal note, she laughed, looking happier than the real Lyra could ever remember feeling. I think I'm falling in love. Which is completely against protocol and probably treason, but I don't care anymore. The hologram ended. Lyra stared at the space where it had been. That's not real, she said, but her voice was weak. It can't be real. It is, Jack said gently. That was you, 5 years ago. You made that recording in our apartment in a city called San Francisco. Lyra's head hurt. The pod seemed to spin around her. No, this is some kind of trick. Jack watched her with concern. I know this is hard to accept, but deep down, I think you feel it's true. That would explain your dreams of Earth's oceans. Those aren't dreams, Lyra. They're memories trying to break through. Lyra felt like she couldn't breathe. If what Jack was saying was true, then her entire life for the past 5 years had been built on lies. She had been leading her people into a war that she had once tried to prevent. Why should I believe you? She asked, trying to hold on to her anger. Anger was safer than confusion. You're my enemy. Am I? Jack asked quietly. He pulled something from around his neck. It was a chain with a ring hanging from it. The ring was made of an unusual metal, silver with swirls of blue. It was clearly not human-made. This is yours. You gave it to me before you left Earth. It's a royal betrothal ring. Lyra stared at the ring. It did look like the royal style, and it had her family crest carved into it. That doesn't prove anything, she said. You could have stolen it. Look, at your left hand, Jack said. The underside of your ring finger. Lyra frowned but did as he asked. She had never noticed it before, but there was a small mark on her skin. A tiny scar in the shape of a star. Royal betrothal rings leave a mark, Jack explained. Part of the celestial bonding ritual. You told me it would fade after a year if the marriage wasn't completed. Marriage? Lyra repeated, looking up sharply. Jack's eyes were full of emotion. We were married, Lyra, in a private ceremony on Earth. A week later, your government recalled you. You promised to come back. But you never did. Lyra's mind was reeling. It was too much to take in. But that would explain the strange feelings she had when she first saw Jack. The sense that she knew him somehow. Before she could respond, the pod's alarm sounded again. Another ship, Lyra said, grateful for the distraction. She checked the scanner. But it's not celestial or human. The ship that approached was unlike anything Lyra had seen before. It wasn't built for war. It had a sleek scientific look to it. Jack looked relieved. It's the Meridian Collective. They found us. The what? Lyra asked. They're a secret group of humans and celestials who work together for peace, Jack explained. They've been helping me look for you. The strange ship sent a message. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She had dark skin and intelligent eyes. Commander Caldwell, the woman said to Jack. You found her. Well done. Barely, Eleanor, Jack replied. We're being hunted by both sides now. Eleanor nodded. We've been monitoring the battle. The Starfall has been destroyed. Both sides are claiming the other attacked first. It was a setup, Jack said. Someone wants this war to escalate. We need to get you both to safety, Eleanor said. Prepare to dock with our ship. The screen went dark. Lyra looked at Jack suspiciously. You're a commander? You said your name was Jack. Sullivan. It's Jackson Caldwell, he admitted. Sullivan was the name I used to infiltrate celestial space. I'm sorry for the deception, but I needed to find you. The pod moved toward the larger ship, guided by its tractor beam. Lyra felt torn. Part of her wanted to resist, to take control of the pod and escape. But another part, a part she didn't fully understand, wanted to know more. Wanted to know if what Jack was saying could possibly be true. These people, she said, gesturing to the ship they were approaching. Can they prove what you're saying about my memories? Jack nodded. They can. They have technology that can scan for memory alterations. And they have records, videos, photos, documents from your time on Earth. Lyra made her decision. I will go with you. I will look at their evidence. But I make no promises beyond that. That's all I ask, Jack said softly. The pod docked with the Meridian ship. When they stepped out, Eleanor Winters was waiting for them with a small team. Some were human, others were celestial. They all wore the same uniform, gray with a symbol of a bridge spanning 2 stars. "Princess Lyra," Eleanor said with a respectful bow. "I'm Dr. Eleanor Winters. Welcome to the Concordia." Lyra was surprised to see Celestials working alongside humans. It went against everything she had been taught. "You have Celestials in your group?" she asked. "Many," Eleanor confirmed. "Scientists, diplomats, ordinary citizens who believe war benefits neither of our peoples." "Traitors," Lyra said, but without much conviction. After seeing her own soldiers try to kill her, she wasn't sure who the real traitors were anymore. "Your Highness," one of the Celestials stepped forward. He was older, with the traditional markings of a high scientist. "I am Zarin, former chief memory archivist for the royal family." Lyra recognized him. "You retired 5 years ago. My father said you died." Zarin smiled sadly. "I was forced to flee when I discovered what they planned to do to you. I refused to participate." "What did they plan?" Lyra asked, though she feared. She already knew the answer. "To use the memory chambers to erase your experiences on Earth," Zarin said. "To remove all knowledge of the peace treaty you had drafted, and to remove all memories of your human husband." Lyra looked at Jack. His face showed pain but also hope. "Take me to these records you claim to have," Lyra said to Eleanor. "I want to see everything." They led her to a room filled with screens and scientific equipment. For the next several hours, Lyra watched videos of herself on Earth. She saw herself meeting Jack for the first time when he was assigned as her security detail. She saw them visiting human cities, natural wonders, museums. She saw herself learning human customs, trying human food, laughing at human jokes, and she saw herself falling in love. The way she looked at Jack in those videos, Lyra had never felt that way before, or had she simply forgotten? "This isn't enough," she said finally, turning away from the screens. "These could be faked." "We thought you might say that," Eleanor said. "That's why we have this." She handed Lyra a small object. It looked like a data crystal, but different from any Lyra had seen. "What is it?" Lyra asked. "A memory backup," Zarin explained. "Before you left Earth, you were worried about what might happen when you returned to the Empire. You asked me to create a backup of your memories, a safety measure. I smuggled it off your ship when you were recalled," Jack added. "It's been our most closely guarded secret." Lyra turned the crystal in her hand. "So what do I do with it?" "We can use it to restore your memories," Zarin said. "Not replace them, just restore what was taken. You would keep all your current memories as well." "Is it safe?" Lyra asked. Zarin hesitated. "There is some risk. The process was not designed to be reversed." "What kind of risk?" Jack asked sharply. "Mental confusion, temporary disorientation," Zarin listed. "In rare cases, conflicting memories can cause more severe issues." "Like what?" Lyra pressed. Zarin looked uncomfortable. "Like personality fragmentation. But that's very rare, Your Highness. And the technology has improved since then." Lyra looked at the crystal again. Could she trust these people? Could she trust herself? "I need time to think," she said finally. "Of course," Eleanor nodded. "We've prepared a room for you. You can rest and decide when you're ready." As they led her to her room, Jack walked beside her. They didn't speak, but Lyra was aware of his presence in a way she couldn't explain. She felt drawn to him despite her suspicions. The room they gave her was simple but comfortable. After they left, Lyra sat on the bed, holding the memory crystal. If she used it and recovered her memories, what then? Could she go back to being the war leader she had been? Would she want to? But if she didn't use it, she might never know the truth. A soft knock came at her door. "Can I come in?" Jack's voice asked. Lyra hesitated, then said yes. Jack entered the room. He looked tired. The last few hours had been hard for him too. "I brought you something," he said. He held out a small box. "I've kept this with me for 5 years." Lyra took the box and opened it. Inside was a photo. A real, physical photo printed on paper the way humans did. It showed Lyra and Jack standing under an arch of flowers. She wore a simple white dress. He wore a dark suit. They were both smiling. "Our wedding day," Jack said softly. Lyra stared at the photo. The woman in it looked so happy. Could that really be her? Had she ever been that happy? "Tell me about it," she said. "About us." Jack sat down in a chair across from her. "We met when you came to Earth as a secret diplomat. The war was just starting then. Small fights at the borders. You were sent to see if peace was possible." "I was a diplomat?" Lyra asked in surprise. "I've always been a military leader." "No," Jack said. "You were trained in both, but you preferred diplomacy. You believed war should always be the last option." That didn't match what Lyra knew about herself. But then again, if her memories had been changed... "Continue," she said. "I was assigned as your Earth guide and security," Jack went on. "At first you were very formal, very royal." He smiled at the memory. "You called me Human Caldwell for the first month." Despite herself, Lyra smiled too. That did sound like her. "But as you learned more about Earth, you started to change," Jack continued. "You became more open, more curious. You wanted to see everything, try everything. You said Earth was so different from your world because it was so varied, so chaotic, and creative." "What happened then?" Lyra asked. "We traveled all over, building your understanding of human culture, and somewhere along the way we fell in love." Jack's voice was filled with emotion. "I didn't plan it. Neither did you. It just happened." Lyra looked down at the photo again. "And we got married? Why? If I was going to return to my people?" "You wanted to build a bridge between our worlds," Jack explained. "A real personal connection. You believed a royal marriage to a human would help show your people that peace was possible, that we weren't so different after all. It was a bold plan. Exactly the kind of grand gesture a royal would think of." "What went wrong?" Lyra asked. Jack's face darkened. "We found out later that certain groups in your government had discovered our marriage. The military leaders, the weapons makers, they didn't want peace. War was too profitable, too useful for keeping power. So they recalled me," Lyra guessed. Jack nodded. "They said it was just for a report, that you'd be back in a week. I waited." His voice broke. "I waited, but you never came back." "I'm sorry," Lyra said without thinking. "It wasn't your fault," Jack said quickly. "We learned from Zarin that they took you directly to a memory chamber. They erased everything about Earth, about the peace plan, about me. And then they gave you new memories of being a war leader who had always hated humans." Lyra stood up and paced the room. It all sounded so crazy. And yet, it explained so much. Her strange dreams. The odd feeling of recognition when she first saw Jack. The way certain human things seemed familiar when they shouldn't have been. "Why did you come for me?" she asked. "After all this time?" "Because I never stopped loving you," Jack said simply. "And because you were right about the peace plan, this war helps no one except those in power. Millions have died, Lyra. On both sides. It has to stop." Lyra looked at the memory crystal again. "If I use this, what happens next?" "That's up to you," Jack said. "I won't force you to do anything. If you want to go back to your people, I won't stop you." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Even knowing I might lead them against humans again?" Jack shook his head. "I don't think you would. Not the real you. Not once you remember everything." His faith in her was touching. And frightening. "I need more time," Lyra said. "Of course," Jack stood up. "Rest. Think it over. I'll be here when you decide." After Jack left, Lyra lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. Her mind was a storm of thoughts and emotions. What if everything Jack said was true? What if her entire life for the past 5 years had been based on lies? She must have fallen asleep, because suddenly she was dreaming. She was on a beach. The sound of waves filled her ears. The sun was setting, painting the sky in beautiful colors, and Jack was there holding her hand. They were walking along the edge of the water. "I want to remember this moment forever," Dream Lyra said. "We will," Dream Jack promised. "No matter what happens when you go back, no matter what they say or do, this is real. Remember that. What we have is real." Lyra woke with a start. The dream had felt so vivid, so true, not like a normal dream at all. She made her decision. Walking to the door, she opened it to find a guard outside, a young celestial woman. "I need to speak with Dr. Winters and Zarin," Lyra said. "Now." A few minutes later, she was back in the laboratory. Eleanor, Zarin, and Jack were all there, looking at her expectantly. "I want to do it," Lyra said firmly. "I want my memories back." Zarin looked concerned. "Your Highness, I should warn you again." "I understand the risks," Lyra interrupted, "but I need to know the truth. I need to know who I really am." Eleanor nodded. "We'll begin preparations right away." "How long will it take?" Lyra asked. "A few hours to set up the equipment," Zarin said. "The procedure itself takes about an hour." "And will it hurt?" Lyra couldn't help asking. Zarin hesitated. "There may be some discomfort as the suppressed memories return. That's scientist speak." "For yes, it will hurt," Eleanor added with a small smile. Lyra appreciated the honesty. "Let's do it as soon as possible." While they prepared, Lyra wandered the ship. It was an impressive vessel, designed for science and exploration rather than war. She met other Celestials who had joined the Meridian Collective. Some had been working for peace for decades. They treated her with respect, but not the excessive formality she was used to from her own people. She also met humans who spoke her language and understood her customs. It was strange, but also nice, like two pieces of a puzzle finally fitting together. Jack found her in the ship's observatory looking out at the stars. "Nervous?" he asked. "Yes," Lyra admitted. "What if I'm not who you remember? What if the person you loved is gone?" Jack came to stand beside her. "You're still you, Lyra. The core of who you are, that can't be erased." "How can you be so sure?" she asked. "Because I've seen glimpses of her since we met again," Jack said. "In the way you think, the way you make decisions. Even as a war leader, you were fair, honorable. That's the real you." Lyra wasn't convinced, but his words were comforting. A voice came over the ship's communication system. "Princess Lyra, we're ready for you in Medical Lab 1. "It's time," Jack said. "Will you be there?" Lyra asked, surprised by how much she wanted him to say yes. "If you want me to be." "I do," she said. They walked to the medical lab together. Eleanor and Zarin were waiting with their team. The room was filled with equipment, some celestial, some human, some a strange mix of both technologies. "We've prepared a memory chamber, using your backup crystal," Zarin explained, pointing to a reclined chair surrounded by delicate machinery. "It's designed to gently reintegrate your lost memories with your current ones." "As gently as possible, anyway," Eleanor added. Lyra took a deep breath. "What do I need to do?" "Just lie down and try to relax," Zarin said. "The process works better if your mind is calm." Lyra sat in the chair. It adjusted to her body automatically, much like her royal armor did. The familiarity was somewhat reassuring. "We'll monitor your vital signs throughout the procedure," Eleanor explained, attaching small sensors to Lyra's temples and wrists. "If there's any sign of distress, we can pause or stop completely." Lyra nodded. She looked at Jack, who stood nearby. He gave her an encouraging smile. "Ready?" Zarin asked. "Ready," Lyra confirmed. Zarin activated the machine. A soft humming filled the room. A crown-like device lowered onto Lyra's head. "Try to clear your mind," Zarin instructed. "Don't fight the images when they come." Lyra closed her eyes. At first, nothing happened. Then slowly she began to see flashes of images. Earth, cities, mountains, oceans, faces of humans she had met, conversations she had had. The images came faster, more insistent. She saw herself arriving on Earth for the first time. Saw her first, meeting with Jack. Saw them working together on the peace treaty. Then the memories became more personal. A first touch, a first kiss. Falling in love against all odds and expectations. The pain started then, a sharp stabbing feeling behind her eyes. Lyra gasped. Her heart rate is increasing, Eleanor said, concerned. It's normal, Zarin assured them. The mind resists conflicting memories. The pain grew worse. Lyra gripped the armrests of the chair. More memories flooded in. The secret wedding, the plans for peace, the call back to her ship, the fear that something was wrong. The last night with Jack promising to return. Then the worst memory of all, being strapped to a table, much like she was now. Men in celestial science uniforms standing over her. A voice saying, remove everything about Earth, everything about the human. Replace it with loyalty to the Empire and hatred for humans. Lyra screamed. The pain was unbearable. Lyra felt like her mind was being torn in two. On one side were the memories she had lived with for 5 years, the war, the battles, the hatred for humans. On the other side were the new, old memories flooding back. Earth, peace, love. Her vitals are spiking. Eleanor's voice seemed to come from far away. We need to stop. No, Lyra managed to say through the pain. Keep going. I need to remember everything. The machine continued its work. More memories returned. Lyra saw the faces of those who had betrayed her. Admiral Krell, her father's closest advisor. General Daxon, head of the military. Even members of the Royal Council. She remembered the peace treaty she had written, the plans for human and celestial cooperation, the future she had imagined where both races could learn from each other. And she remembered Jack. Their first awkward conversations, their growing friendship, the moment she realized she was falling in love with him, their secret meetings, the wedding on the beach at sunset with only a few trusted friends as witnesses. I think we're past the worst, Zarin said after what seemed like hours. The memories are integrating now. The pain began to fade. In its place came clarity. Lyra could see both sets of memories clearly now. The real ones and the false ones planted in her mind. She could tell the difference. Finally, the machine powered down. The crown lifted from her head. Lyra opened her eyes. The room seemed too bright at first. Her head throbbed. But her mind felt complete for the first time in years. Lyra, Jack stepped forward, his face full of worry. Are you okay? Do you remember? Lyra looked at him. Really looked at him. And she saw not just the human prisoner she had captured, but the man she had loved. The man she had married. Jack, she whispered. She reached for him. My husband. Jack's eyes filled with tears. He took her hand, held it tight. You remember? Everything, Lyra confirmed. She tried to sit up but felt dizzy. Careful, Eleanor warned. Your mind needs time to adjust. How do you feel, Your Highness? Zarin asked. Lyra considered the question. Angry, betrayed. She looked at Jack. And like I've found, something precious I thought was lost forever. Jack helped her to a sitting position. The memories, they're all back? Yes, Lyra said. Both sets. I remember being the war leader they turned me into, and I remember being the diplomat I really was. She frowned. It's strange having both in my head. The false memories will fade in time, Zarin explained. They don't have the emotional connections that real memories do. Eleanor checked Lyra's vital signs again. You should rest now. Give your mind time to heal. There's no time for rest, Lyra said firmly. Now that I remember, I have to act. My people, both our peoples, have been lied to for too long. An alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. A voice came over the communication system. Dr. Winters to the bridge immediately. We have multiple ships approaching. Eleanor rushed to a communication panel. What's happening? 6 ships detected, a voice replied. 3 celestial, 3 human. They've found us. Jack helped Lyra stand. Can we outrun them? Not all of them, Eleanor said grimly. The Concordia is fast, but it's not a warship. Take me to the bridge, Lyra ordered. Now. Despite Eleanor's protests that Lyra should rest, they all hurried to the bridge. The ship's captain, a tall human woman named Kate Walsh, was directing the crew. Report, Eleanor demanded as they entered. They came out of nowhere, Kate said. Both sides at once. Almost like they were working together. They are, Lyra said. Everyone turned to look at her. Not officially, but certain factions in both governments benefit from this war. They don't want it to end. On the main screen they could see the approaching ships, 3 sleek celestial cruisers and 3 bulky human battleships. They're hailing us, a crew member announced. Put them through, Eleanor ordered. The screen split to show 2 faces side by side. On the left was Admiral Krell, his silver skin marked with the black lines of high rank. On the right was a human admiral Lyra didn't recognize. Dr. Winters, Krell said coldly. You harbor fugitives and traitors. Surrender the princess and the human prisoner immediately. And the rest of you will stand trial for interference in military operations, the human admiral added. Eleanor stepped forward. We're a scientific vessel on a peaceful mission. We've broken no laws. You're harboring a kidnapped royal, Krell snapped. Return her now or we'll take her by force. Lyra moved into view of the screen. I wasn't kidnapped, Admiral Krell. I left of my own free will after my own soldiers tried to kill me. On your orders, I assume? Krell's face showed surprise, quickly hidden. Your Highness, you're confused. The memory procedure has been reversed. Lyra cut him off. I remember everything, Krell. The peace mission, the treaty, my marriage. She took Jack's hand, pulling him into view. And I remember what you and the others did to me when I returned. Krell's expression hardened. This is human trickery. More proof of why this war is necessary. The human admiral looked uncomfortable. What's she talking about, Krell? What memory procedure? Don't listen to her, Krell said quickly. Humans can't understand our medical technology. She's been brainwashed. No, Lyra said clearly. I was brainwashed 5 years ago. By you, to forget the peace treaty I had negotiated, to forget that humans and Celestials can live together. She gestured around the bridge where humans and Celestials worked side by side. As you can see, we can. Enough of this, Krell snapped. Surrender now or we attack. You have 5 minutes to decide. The screen went dark. What are our options? Lyra asked Kate. We can try to run, but they'd catch us eventually, Kate said. We're armed, but we can't fight 6 warships. Lyra thought for a moment. 5 years of military training, even if based on false memories, had taught her strategy. What if we don't have to fight all 6, she asked. What if we can turn them against each other? Jack caught on immediately. You think the human ships don't know the full story? I'm sure they don't, Lyra said. That human admiral looked surprised when I mentioned the memory procedure. I doubt the humans know they've been working with corrupt celestial officials all this time. So what's the plan? Eleanor asked. I need to address both fleets, Lyra said. Not just the admirals, everyone. Kate looked doubtful. We can't force them to listen. No, Jack agreed, but we can make it hard to ignore. He turned to Lyra. The Royal Emergency Beacon, the one we used in the asteroid field. It overrides normal communication systems on all celestial ships. And I can help with the human ships, a crew member offered. I used to work in Earth Fleet communications. I know how to boost a signal to reach all crew channels. Do it, Eleanor ordered. Get the princess a channel to both fleets. They worked quickly. Zarin helped Lyra prepare what she would say. Jack stayed by her side, offering support. Are you sure about this? He asked quietly. Once you do this, there's no going back. Your government will consider you a traitor. They already do, Lyra said. And they've been betraying their own people for years. This war has cost too many lives, Jack. It has to stop. We're ready, Your Highness, Kate announced. The channel is open. All ships will receive your transmission. Lyra stood tall. Jack squeezed her hand once, then stepped aside. Lyra faced the camera. This is Princess Lyra of the Celestial Empire. she began. "I speak to all crew members of both human and celestial ships. What I am about to tell you has been hidden from both our peoples for 5 years." She told them everything. The peace mission, the treaty she had drafted, her marriage to Jack, and the betrayal by celestial officials who wiped her memories and pushed for war. "I have proof," she said, and nodded to Zarin. He transmitted data, packages to all ships, the memory backup files, videos from Earth, the original peace treaty draft. "This war benefits only those in power," Lyra continued. "Weapons makers, military leaders who want more control, politicians who use fear to remain in office. Meanwhile, millions of ordinary humans and celestials have died." She took a deep breath. "I call on all of you, humans and celestials alike, to question why we fight, to demand answers from your leaders, to consider the possibility of peace." She held up the memory crystal. "The truth has been kept from you, just as it was kept from me. But now I remember. Now I know who I really am. I am not a war leader. I am a peacemaker, and I call on all of you to join me in demanding an end to this senseless conflict." Lyra ended the transmission. The bridge was silent. "Now we wait," Eleanor said. They didn't have to wait long. The communication system chimed. "We're getting multiple responses," Kate reported with surprise. "From individual crew members on the ships. They're asking questions, demanding to speak with their commanders." "And the admirals?" Eleanor asked. "Admiral Krell is ordering his ships to attack us immediately," Kate said. "But," she smiled, "2 of the celestial ships aren't responding to his commands." "What about the human ships?" Jack asked. "Similar situation," Kate replied. "The Admiral is demanding they fire on us, but the captains are refusing until they review the evidence." Suddenly, Admiral Krell's face appeared on screen again. He looked furious. "You've committed treason against the Empire," he spat at Lyra. "My ship will destroy you and everyone aboard that vessel." "Your ship," Lyra noted. "Not your fleet. They're not following your orders anymore, are they, Admiral?"